that was a really good episode. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that was the best episode of the reboot so far. I kind of wish that this episode was indicative of the rest of the reboot, because I get that this is a manga adaptation and everything, but if I wanted to read the manga, I'd read the manga, and I do plan on reading the manga. I don't necessarily want to see it animated, and I immediately know, oh, why not? Why wouldn't you want to see it animated? Well, again, because I think I have a problem with adaptations that are too faithful to their source materials and do too close a job of adapting their source material, because it kind of nullifies the point. Let's make those basic analogy possible, right? If you have a book that's being adapted into a film, films are different to books. They're different length in terms of how much story you can fit in, and because of that, people get mad that films cut out certain parts of the books. The problem isn't necessarily that. The problem, because if you literally kept in every single thing from the book, the pacing would be bad and the film would be far too long. The problem is necessarily how they get around that. And so I think in some cases, the film can actually be better than the book. And I think that is the perfect analogy for the original Vanguard anime. It changes pretty much everything from the manga. In fact, the manga was still going as the original anime was. But I think the changes it made were for the better. At the very least, again, as someone who's not the most familiar in the world with manga, I've only read parts of it. But I really like the original. And I think the changes they made in the original work. So basically, what I'm trying to say is I wish that this reboot was more of an in-between. I wish it wasn't a straight-up adaptation of the manga, but I also wish it wasn't a straight-up remake of the original either. I wish there was a bit of in-between. And this episode does a perfect job of illustrating that. This got a really good balance of old and new, because pretty much everything that happens in this episode does happen in Link Joker. But they tweaked things around a bit and reordered some things and rewrote certain things. And I think pretty much every change they made works. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Naoki knowing Aichi before they both entered Miyagi Academy, but I can live with it. And I really like how they reordered things around. So basically, in Link Joker, they basically attributed each thing that happened in this episode as its own kind of self-contained episode. So you have the episode where Naoki gets into the card game, and then you have the episode where Korin gets properly introduced and joins the CardFight Club, and so on and so forth. And I like how this took bits and pieces from each of those episodes to create a new episode and plays around with the pacing a bit. Honestly, I think I like this pacing more, the way this episode handled it. I like the kind of introduction of lots of things at once, because it definitely gets across how out of his depth Aichi feels in this situation with so much going on at once. And I still really like the idea that Aichi doesn't fully know who Korin is, and I like their kind of dynamic with their relationship here. Because in the original, of course, Aichi met all three members of Ultra Rare pretty much at the same time. And so for the first arc, he kind of dealt with the three of them as a whole. And it wasn't until the Asia Circuit that he started talking to Korin more and everything. But by the time we got to Link Joker, Aichi and Korin were basically already friends anyway. And so there was only so much they could do with their development, to the extent where they turned them into romantic interests. And they might still do that here, who knows. I like that this kind of showed this is the two of each other getting to know each other in the first place. And I like that. I really like that kind of change in dynamic. And I really think that fits with how Alien Miyagi Academy feels. Again, two different vibes, but I like both. I like how in the original, Aichi feels completely alone and out of his depth and everything, and he doesn't know anyone. And then at the end of the episode, Korin appears, and he's like, thank God, I finally have someone I can fucking, attach myself to and never ever let go. Which, I've had that feeling before, where I'm completely alone in the class or whatever, and then one friend I know, even a friend I don't really know that much, just appears, and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna hold on to them and never ever let go. And so I really like that, and I relate to that a lot in Link Joker, but I like how Delete handles it too. There's more room for growth in that respect, and there's more places they can go with it. Don't know if they're gonna go the romance route, but they're probably going to, because Misaki has been reduced to love triangle bait, I guess, this episode. And to be fair, Misaki doesn't really do too much of interest until later on in Link Joker 2, but Misaki has spent this entire episode giving daggers to Korin, basically telling her, "Kid, get the fuck away from Aichi, please." And not the biggest fan of love triangles. I don't think they're awful, but I don't think they're great either. So I hope this is one that gets skimmed across, especially in my card game anime. If you're gonna have a romantic interest, I'd rather they played it straight. But, you know, it could be good, could be bad. Taking the ending theme into account, I would definitely say they're going full on with the shipping bait. But again, I hope they do more of Misaki than just that in this arc, you know? It could go interesting places. Who knows? I liked Shingo. Shingo was barely in this episode, but I liked his introduction anyway. Again, he's just kind of there. But I like that they kind of show all this stuff beforehand, so it feels more natural when they appear. Koji Ibuki. I'm not sure how I feel about Naoki. I like the idea that Naoki busts in out of nowhere at the end of the episode with a deck and challenges Korin. I like that because I like the confusion it gives Aichi. It's like, what the fuck? This guy plays the card? What? And so I like the idea of him being trained off screen and everything. But at the same time, I also, again, really like that Naoki got into the card game because he played it. Whereas here, he got into the card game because he saw Aichi playing it and was like, oh, that's neat. I think it felt a bit more natural and realistic in the original, how he basically got forced to play it. And it was because he played it that he got into it. Whereas with this, he got into it a little bit before he properly played it. Again, very minor things, but notice all the things that I've been mentioning in terms of what they've changed are actually good changes. Not necessarily changes I prefer over the original, but changes that are worth exploring. Changes that you can do different things with. I like that this next episode is going to be a Naoki versus Korin fight, you know, rather than just immediately an Aichi fight. And I like that this episode didn't really have a proper card fight in. We got a bit of a card fight, but not a full one, which I guess is par for the course with the reboot. But this one got skipped past even faster than usual. And I like that too. It kind of takes its time to establish everything. Why does this reboot suddenly have really good pacing? Because the previous arc either went far too fast right near the beginning, where I just fucking skipped past everything, or far too slow, like the last few episodes of the Foo Fighter arc, where the last, 6 or 7 episodes were just characters standing around waiting for the Aichi versus Ren fight to happen. But here, the pacing's actually really good. Every scene was important, and every scene kind of added to that slice-of-lifey tone, and I really like that tone returning to Vanguard at last. It's a really good tone. I really like this cast of characters. I'm really interested to see where they go with it. I have no clue what the deal with Koji Ibuki is. Of course, I'm familiar with the character. I know he's the original owner of Blaster Blade. I've seen Neon Messiah. I've seen G. I don't know what he's doing here, though. And so I'm really interested to see what they do with that. It's probably just going to be Neon Messiah again, I imagine, in terms of his motivations and everything, but we'll see. But again, changes that warrant the reboot. And again, I know a lot of these changes are in the manga, but they're still more interesting changes. It's a very fine line, because again, it is all up to taste and what changes you prefer, but when it comes to a reboot, that's basically what you're relying on. You're relying on changing the right things enough so that old fans will be interested, but not too much that it loses what made the original special in the first place. And this episode does a really good job of that. Series as a whole, dunno, but this episode does a good job of it. And I'm really happy because, of course, this is the beginning of a new arc. So maybe the rest of the arc might do this. Will it be better than Link Joker? At least not in my opinion, no. At least probably not. I'm willing to give it a shot. But after the Foo Fighter arc, I'll take anything, honestly. Yeah. This was a really good episode. Honestly, not much to say, but that's the mark of a good episode. The only other thing I can think of is they baited me with an ultra rare card fight that they showed 2 seconds of in a flashback. And, I would spend the entire video ranting about nothing but that. But what is there to say? They skipped past an ultra rare card fight. Would have liked to seen it, but it didn't have any bearing on the plot or anything either, so I can understand why they did. Plus, I'm pretty sure we're going to see lots and lots more of ultra rare coming up within this arc, and at the very least, we're going to see a lot of Corrin. But yeah, no, really good episode. I really enjoyed it a lot.